How's it going, everybody? I've got some more magic for you today with a Mardu Mobilize deck, another Sephiroth deck because he is so good. In fact, I think I'm going to make this week all just about Sephiroth decks, primarily at least, because I've got at least one more of these decks, which is actually my favorite one. I'm going to save it for last. But so Mardu Mobilize, already a little bit of a difficult archetype in my opinion, because you get good cards like Stadium Headliner, Voice of Victory. There are a couple other ones, but those are the staple ones in my opinion. But if they get blocked, you just lose them and lose the value they get you with the additional 1/1 warriors. However, since this is a Sephiroth deck, we're leaning into things like Stadium Headliner, Voice of Victory. We do have Bartolome in here, very, very important. We have Zach Fair in here, a really nice addition as well. Doesn't feed into the Mobilize, but can give your creatures indestructible and 1/1 counters, which makes them a little bit more survivable when they're these and they have to attack. So really nice there. And obviously, if you get to attack in with a Voice of Victory, a Stadium Headliner, and play a Sephiroth on the same turn, then you can flip him on the same turn, so really, really nice combination there. We have War Leader's Call, a fantastic card for this type of deck, because we do have so many 1/1 tokens that are going to be coming in each time we attack. We also have Frontline Rush, as well as Elspeth Stormslayer to really capitalize again on these 1/1 tokens. So all of that's really good. Sephiroth just kind of fits in this deck super nicely. You could take this exact same build and swap out Sephiroth for Zurgo and have permanent 1/1 tokens rather than getting that sacrifice fodder ability. But I like this as a Sephiroth deck primarily because it's really, really fun. It's a really interesting way to try and get it to flip right away and get you some immediate value. Not to mention, if it does flip right away, and you do get to keep any of these additional creatures that create 1/1 tokens, or even get the Elspeth Stormslayer out, then you can attack with Sephiroth once it's flipped and sacrifice any number of those tokens during that to draw more cards, which is really fantastic as well. I'm running Agatha's Soul Cauldron instead of things like Dewdrop Cure or Raise the Past in this deck. I think it works really, really well in this meta because you currently have a situation where there are a lot of graveyard-focused decks. You've got the Jeskai decks like Oculus, or even the one with the dragon that wants to get all of the instants and sorceries back from the graveyard, or permanents even, because it can get enchantments back as well. So you have an ability to target your opponent's graveyard when they're doing things like Yuna, they're doing things like Arden, they're doing things like Jeskai. So a really good card in this meta, but it also allows you to capitalize on any creatures that get sent into your own graveyard. If you use Agatha's Soul Cauldron to target a Bartolome, you can make all of your creatures able to start sacrificing other creatures and growing bigger. If you grab a Zach Fair, then you have all of your creatures, including your token creatures, that can now be sacrificed for 1 mana to put their 1/1 counters onto another creature and give it indestructible until end of turn, which is a fantastic, fantastic ability to be able to pass on to other creatures. Just knowing that you can make Sephiroth indestructible is such a nice feature in this deck, or knowing that you can make Sephiroth have an ability to sacrifice your other creatures to grow its power and toughness is really fantastic. So I like Agatha's Soul Cauldron over things like Raise the Past and Dewdrop Cure. It means that you're not inherently tied down by wanting to get your creatures back from the graveyard, so you're not as affected by things like Ghost Cauldron and stuff like that from your opponents, while still being able to capitalize on your graveyard when you have the ability to do so, and hinder your opponent's graveyard simultaneously. So a very good card in this deck. I also used it in my Orzhov Sephiroth deck yesterday, and I think it is a really good choice alternative to things like Raise the Past and Dewdrop Cure. So it's really something worth considering. As I mentioned, we have Frontline Rush. It has the ability to create 1/1 goblin creature tokens, or to increase target creature's power and toughness by the number of creatures you control on that turn, which can be a really fantastic way to pump your creatures and make sure that they don't die during their attack. So that can be really important for sustainability as well. We've got Elspeth Stormslayer. This card on its own can kind of run a match. If you get it out on the battlefield, you're immediately creating enough blockers to be a threat, to keep it alive. And you can even put 1/1 counters on all of your creatures and attack in for a big attack if you get it. So very, very functionally useful. One of the other new cards aside from Sephiroth, because it is the only new card in this deck aside from Zac Fair, is Starting Town. This is the absolute best land, in my opinion, that you can put into a 3-color deck right now. It does hurt you like other pain lands do, and we've got a lot of those in this deck, so be expecting to take damage from your land. But we've got Caves of Koilos, we've got Sulphur Springs, and we've got Battlefield Forge. Any of these can be reduced in the deck and replaced with Starting Town, because Starting Town has the same ability functionally, and it has the ability to pay 1 to produce any color mana that you need, so in a 3-color deck, it's better than all of those. We do get to use it additionally with all of those in this deck, but, and the one downside to Starting Town is if it's after your 3rd turn of the game, it does enter tapped, which is not a downside that the rest of these have. But still, in my opinion, probably the best addition to a 3-color deck that you can have in any 3-color deck from this set. Now, we do have a sideboard: Duress, Urbrask's Forge, Thunder of Unity, Inevitable Defeat, Cut Down, Destroy Evil, Rest in Peace. Now, this does hit your own graveyard, so if you're going to side in these Rest in Peace, you'll probably want to take out the Soul Cauldron and replace a few of them. We do have Split Up and Windcrag Siege. All really good. All synergize really well with this deck. If you're trying to be extremely aggressive against your opponent, things like the Urbrask Forge and the Windcrag Siege can be really helpful. Windcrag Siege can also help with sustainability by creating those life link tokens for you. Elspeth really makes all of those shine by doubling the amount of them that comes out on the turn when they appear. But yeah, I'm going to go ahead and get into matches. I'll be playing best of 1 like usual, going for 3 wins. And then, like I said, I like this deck. I think it's a really good build for Mardu Mobilize that makes Mobilize work and lets you keep getting value with Sephiroth. When you have Zurgo, you get to keep the tokens, but in my opinion, I think long-term Sephiroth is a better closer as well as a better payout for those 1/1 tokens than keeping them. It is nice to have a big full board from having them all stay on board. However, Sephiroth can draw you additional cards and regain you life, where you don't normally have that sustainability in this deck. So long-term, I think this is a better play. And Sephiroth's just a fantastic card, and that's why I want to showcase it in as many decks as possible. But anyway, I'll go ahead and start getting into games. Hopefully you guys like this. Alright. Hand looks pretty okay. Our opponent goes first, which is disappointing, but we'll probably start with an Inspiring Vantage into a Starting Town. Temple of Malice is pretty unusual to see. Let's go ahead and get a Zac Fair down. That way we have some kind of a board presence, and it helps if we get our Soul Cauldron going. Fear of missing out. Soul Cauldron looking like a really good choice here. Oh yes it is. Alright, so Starting Town, Soul Cauldron. Let's go ahead and just eat that up. And no attacks is fine. Alright. I'll probably include this because that's hilarious. This was a really, really quick win because it can show how effective the Soul Cauldron is against the meta right now. But I'll still get 3 wins additional to this one. But yeah, I'll definitely keep this in. That is hilarious. Alright, opponent gets to go first, which is unfortunate. We've got some okay looking cards here. I still would really love a Stadium Headliner going first, but just not happening. We'll see if we can get the voice down right away. We don't have any white land, though. I do see that as an issue now that I'm looking at it, so I'm going to mulligan. White and black looks good. We've got some Stadium Headliner, so this is actually much better. I'm going to go ahead and toss 1 Headliner for now. Wouldn't have minded having both, but I think this is fine. Let's go Headliner out. Next, we'll get Bartolome down so that we can eat the token if we're able to attack. Okay, just a kill spell from our opponent, no big deal. I'm going to go ahead and go with Bart now. And then next, we're definitely going to get down the War Leader's Call. Yeah, we don't really care about them removing everything, because we're going to get value from all of our extra creatures now. So I'm going to go ahead, go War Leader's Call, and then probably try going for a frontline rush unless it gets taken. It is what I would take, because it's the only board presence option I have at the moment. Okay, they took the Cauldron, which is absolutely silly. I'm going to go Headliner here, and then we'll do Frontline Rush on the opponent's turn. Now we have a 1/1 token that we can sacrifice. Looks like they're having some land issues too, which are great for us. See if we can just draw some gas, though. We're having trouble with that. Would like, if we could get back our Cauldron, we could start making use of the Bartolome in the graveyard. Another momentum breaker from our opponent means we are losing our other 2/2 token. Comes the Bat attack. Would love a Sephiroth here, because then we could draw a card. Soul Cauldron works. It's not the worst option. We can go ahead and play it out now. Put the 1/1 counter from Bartolome onto our Headliner. Attack in, and now we'll be able to eat the token after the attack step is over to grow it once more. We've got our opponent in... Okay, them doing Cease is useless here. They should have gone for the thing that would kill artifacts to at least get rid of my Cauldron. But I think they were desperate to just get some life here. At 2 mana, they're going to have some trouble, though. They could make me get rid of my creature, but any future creatures that I play are going to be problematic for them, because they are so low on life now. Another Deep Cavern Bat doesn't really do anything here. Does give them a lifelinker, potentially a blocker as well. Okay, we do have another Bartolome to get down, which is quite nice. Another ping of damage. We'll attack with our basically 2 creatures here. Another ping of damage. If I were him, I would block the Headliner. Just decides to take it all, huh? That's surprising. I am going to go ahead and eat with the Bart now, just in case they decide to kill our... Actually, let's just go ahead and win here. I can do this. Okay, we can't hit players with it. My bad. But that's fine. Go for the throat on him. Doesn't really matter. He'll need another kill spell to get my board completely gone now. Gained a little bit of life, okay. Kept up a blocker too, smart. Nothing useful in their graveyard. Let's go ahead and put our Headliner on Bartolome. That means we also get the sacrifice ability there. Zac Fairdown is a great option. Attack with Bartolome. I'm going to go ahead and eat the bat now and put it on Zac. Because the 1/1 counters on Zac are going to be able to be moved to Bartolome if I have to protect it. Okay, so that was our first win, aside from the hilarious instant scoop when they saw Soul Cauldron earlier. So, good game 1, if you want to consider it that, or game 2, either way. I'm going to go for 3 wins aside from that first hilarious one, though. Got to see a good use of Soul Cauldron again. I really think this card is worth running in any of these kinds of sacrifice or death-themed decks. It lets you get more immediate use out of it than if you go for Raise the Past. Obviously, we don't have a big board like you potentially would from losing all these creatures to Raise the Past, but other people are also using things that can kill your graveyard, like Cease and Desist or Ghost Vacuum, especially in the best of 3 matchup and stuff. So I really think people are sleeping on the Soul Cauldron right now. It's a really good choice, too. Your opponent could be playing a VV or something type of deck that plays off of it. The use of this card is kind of fantastic right now. But anyway, I'll go ahead and get into the next game. Let's see if we can get a good game, too. Alright, we get to go first. We don't have our frontline or stadium headliner, which sucks. But I think what we do have is pretty good here, so I'm going to go ahead and keep. We have Torch the Tower for immediate interaction if our opponent plays a creature. We've got the Soul Cauldron that we can go ahead and get set up. We've got Frontline Rush, which can give us creatures on our opponent's turn. So I think I'm pretty okay with keeping what we have here. Just gotta wait for our opponent to decide if they're happy with what they have or not. Alright, start off with a Black Cleaved Cliff here. Nothing from our opponent. Let's get Starting Town down and pass. We have 2 Frontline Rushes now. Okay. I think I'm going to get creatures down now, and then on my turn go for the Torch on that. Okay, we do have some options here. I think I am going to go with Torch. Get down a Zac, because the Torch doesn't send that to the graveyard, otherwise we could start pumping up one of our tokens. Okay, evolving Adaptive from our opponent. They're obviously playing a counter mono-green deck. There's Victorian Beast Caller. I would have played that in the opposite order probably myself. Just because the counters can get moved from this, but, you know, whatever. We do have a Voice of Victory here, which is quite nice. Let's just attack in, see what happens. No blocks from our opponent. Interesting. I'm probably going to hold on to this Frontline Rush so that we can actually get a blowout with it. Okay, Llanowar Elf from our opponent. Keen-Eyed Curator. Alright, let's go ahead and block here. Use Frontline Rush for the blowout, because they're not going to be able to get to move the counters that way. And then we'll eat that with the Soul Cauldron on our turn. That was really foolish on his part. So we can't protect the Voice of Victory if he goes for some kind of a kill spell now, but we do have fodder in the graveyard to eat now, which is really nice. Yeah, I'll just block that, I don't care. Stadium Headliner's actually pretty nice here. Let's go ahead and eat the Curator first. Nah, we don't want to start doing the Curator ability yet, but let's go ahead and attack with our Voice. Has no good means of blocking the Voice of Victory, at least. I don't even know if he can crew this with a... Yeah, no, it's a crew 3, so he couldn't even crew that with the Llanowar Elf if he wanted to. Would absolutely love a Sephiroth here, just for the card draw option. Okay, pretty good game 2. We do still have our lovely Zac Fair in the graveyard here, which we could put a 1/1 counter on the Stadium Headliner. We could put a 1/1 counter on this just to use it as an option to sacrifice to protect our other two. We actually had a pretty great start here. Still would have loved to see a Sephiroth or even a Bartolome so that we could kind of get some value out of our tokens that we're drawing here. Elspeth would have been great too because we actually have the land to play it here. Anyway, good game 2. We'll go ahead and get into a game 3. They seem to be having some land issues here, which really played into our favor, but planning on our part helped a lot too. Okay, our opponent gets to go first. However, we do have a Stadium Headliner and a Starting Town, so I'm pretty okay with this. I think this is a fantastic hand. We've got the mana that we need to play everything here and good options, so I'll be keeping this. Probably go Starting Town, Stadium Headliner. Next we'll go Bartolome, I imagine. Okay, no blocker from our opponent is nice. May have to go with Soul Cauldron here, though. Okay, I want to hold off on the Soul Cauldron as long as possible, because if we rush into that, we may not be able to use it if this is a, what is it, an Omniscience deck. We want to save it until we see the Omniscience on the board. That way we can play it and get rid of it when necessary instead of doing it too early. See, there's a temporary lockdown from our opponent. Let's go ahead and eat the Stadium Headliner. Just so that it ends up in the graveyard, we can still get value from it from our Cauldron. Definitely want to go with Vantage here, and I'm just going to pass. I really want to wait until I see that Omniscience in the graveyard before I start putting out the Cauldron. Okay, nothing from our opponent. Let's go land here, get Voice of Victory going, so they can't do anything on our turn. We do still have the option here as well if they do something that gets... Okay, just a counter spell, nothing to really worry about there. I was going to say, if they did something that got the... like a counter spell that allowed them to discard, like change the equation, we had an option to potentially still put down Soul Cauldron there. Interesting. Recommission to get that. Yeah, I'm not really bothered by that. Let's go ahead and go here so that we can get down our Elspeth.
I will turn the tide of battle.
Yeah, we'll actually start there instead of starting with tokens just to get that gone. He may bring it back again, but that's fine. I still think that was the right move for this turn. Okay. Go here. Let's go ahead and get Zac Fair down, even if I don't potentially get to keep it. Now our Torch the Tower can be used to get rid of something with 3 toughness as well, which I think is really important, because we can sacrifice these tokens to do it. Get Lost on our Elspeth does suck. This can only protect creatures. Yeah, so sad to go. We do have potential more 1/1 counters for Zach, though. Let's start off with Voice of Victory so that we don't have any counter spells to worry about. Nice. I'm gonna get Soul Cauldron down now and start by eating. I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna wait until it's necessary. I'm gonna go ahead and keep that last mana up. War Leader's Call is actually pretty nice. But definitely keep that last mana up so that we can either torch or use Zach. If he goes for Temporary Lockdown again now, I'll be pretty disappointed. Okay, we're definitely going to go ahead and eat the Monastery Mentor now. Just put the counter on Zach. Any amount of counters we stack up on him are value if we have to sacrifice him. Phantom Interference is just going to create a 2/2. We'll just go ahead and get rid of that. Nice! Game 3 win, and this was about to be a really painful turn for them. War Leader's Call coming down was going to make, let's see, 2/2, 2/2, so that's 4 damage. 4 here's 8, 9, 10, 11, and then 2, 3. Yeah, so he was dead this turn as soon as we play War Leader's Call, and he was totally tapped out. I think we played it as conservatively as we could there to be totally viable. I will say, usability of this deck, I think it is worse, in my opinion, than going with the Orzhov option that I uploaded previously, using the Knight Errant of Eos with Sephiroth and Agatha Soul Cauldron in it. I like that deck better. This one is just a little bit less consistent because you can run out of creatures if your threats get answered, and then you kind of end up with nothing on board. Really scary card with Temporary Lockdown, and people use it a lot. It's very effective against both of these decks, so I don't love it. But this one's a lot of fun. I definitely recommend trying it out if you like a more aggressive deck than the Orzhov deck, because you can kill your opponents without needing Sephiroth. Like in this instance, we actually never got to get a good use of Sephiroth in any of these matches. But I do think this is a fantastic deck for it, because you can really capitalize heavily off of the tokens that get sacrificed from Voice of Victory and Stadium Headliner. You could do Mobilize as well with other such cards like Avenger of the Fallen. I don't think it's good in this build that I've put here because we're utilizing the Soul Cauldron to eat our own creatures from our graveyard, so that's why I didn't include it. You also do have the Defender, or whatever, the 0/4, I think it is, for 3 mana that creates the tokens. You could use it, but I felt like it was just too expensive, and it wouldn't fit in a Raise the Past version of the deck. So you could put it in this for that reason, because we don't use Raise the Past, but it just didn't, it felt more expensive than valuable in this deck for other cards. Like we have much better use for things like War Leader's Call. But anyway, that's it for today's video. We actually got 4 wins because the first one was an insta-scoop to the Soul Cauldron, but the Cauldron showed how useful it was in every single one of these matches, so I do advocate heavily for it in most standard best-of-1 matches that you're using right now. I do have another Sephiroth deck for tomorrow's video, and it'll be my favorite one that I've been using the most so far, even in best of 3. So hopefully you guys come and check it out, and hopefully you enjoyed this. Thank you for joining me.